Yeah, welcome back to Fuel. Definitely, tonight's topics on Fuel have been went from the lighthearted beer tasting and tour to something very serious that affects everyone in this whole world, is AIDS. And another thing that we're moving on to, something else that affects everyone here in this capital punishment, your views pro or con. And we got Dave Parkinson also in the house. Welcome to Fuel, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
Okay, so basically, what does a CCADP, what's your stand on capital punishment?
Okay, well, CCADP, it's a Canadian Coalition Against the Death Penalty.
Oh, sorry.
Now, we founded back in May '98, and we're against the death penalty in all instances. What originally happened is we just accidentally came across some information on the internet about people who were convicted on death row, particularly the case of Jimmy Dennis. It's the guy who's innocent on death row in Pennsylvania.
Currently?
He's currently still on death row. Now, he does have
but how do you know he's innocent?
Well, what happened is we contacted him and we had him send us some information. He had a small pen pal request on another site mentioning that, you know, I'm innocent, I need some help. We thought, well, how innocent can this guy be? He's on death row. Well, we contacted him and began corresponding with him, and since we've received tons and tons of legal documentation, we have 2 large legal boxes full of stuff. This guy's completely innocent. And I mean, just looking over the evidence, you guys or anybody else who would look over just a brief synopsis of the evidence can tell this man's completely innocent. We started looking into a number of different cases of individuals like Jimmy on death row, and we started finding out just some of the inconsistencies and some of the things that these guys were sentenced with. It was completely ridiculous. Jailhouse snitches and... Oh, sorry, go on.
No, that's good. I'm sorry for interrupting. I think I saw a special on him. Is this the guy? What's his quick story?
Oh, well, he was actually. You're probably referring to Mumia Abu Jamal, who was wrongfully convicted in Pennsylvania. There has been a lot of attention of his case for a police shooting in Pennsylvania. However, now Jimmy Dennis, he was convicted in the same precinct. As a matter of fact, currently there's what's known as the Philadelphia 15 guys on death row in Pennsylvania, all from the same police precinct in Philadelphia. Jimmy's one of them, and probably has the best shot at getting out due to the fact that the evidence is so clear that this man is innocent. He does have a high-profile law firm now working on the case, and we've been trying to get him support around the world with a website we put up for Mr. Dennis when we first found out about his plight. Now, as a result of getting involved with this, we started contacting a number of death row inmates, not just in Pennsylvania, but in all states, Florida, California, Texas, excuse me, and as a result, we realized this isn't just Pennsylvania.
It's not a one-time incident.
Yeah, it's not just Texas. This is happening right throughout the justice system in the U.S. And at that point, we decided we're going to start making web pages for all these people. So if they have case information or anything that they want to bring to the public, we'll let them do so. And we don't just restrict it to people who do have claims of innocence. We have people on there who admit to their guilt. You know, people on there a lot of people who feel really sorry about what they've done. And we allow them to put up writings, artwork, poetry, anything that they might have.
Which actually brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Why do these people deserve, especially self-admitted, people who have admitted they did it? Why do these people deserve this type of attention or this type of exposure?
Well, again, I don't know if you would call it that we're giving them that type of attention or exposure for the crimes that they committed. The reason we're doing this is specifically because they have been sentenced to death by the government. And the fact of the matter is, if they're going to have their life taken by the United States government for whatever reason, we think it's our right and the rights of all citizens to see exactly what these people are all about, not just from the prosecutor's point of view or from a skewed media perspective of the local townsfolk who might have covered the case, but from their own point of view. Allow them to say their own piece, regardless of how ridiculous their claims of innocence may be or how screwed up these people really are. They're going to be killed. They're going to be put to death. And we think that at least society in general should have a chance to hear it from their side before.
Arissa, what's going on chat right now?
Well, we have actually tons of topics. We've been talking about this the whole show, actually. Really, really interesting. Idoru actually came on and said, for instance, the Timothy McVeigh execution, he said that I guess the good point would be closure for the families of victims, knowing that a monster is dead, he can no longer influence or hurt anyone again. A whole bunch of people piped up after that to say, well, no, because if he's been killed, then he could be murdered, and so he still has influence over people. We actually talked with Sunflower. He said that he saw a whole bunch of interviews with people who thought that once he was killed, they would feel relief, and they realized that they didn't get closure and they didn't feel better knowing that this person was actually dead. Mr. Ron came on to say that no revenge would fit his crime, and then we had a whole big discussion about some of the states in the U.S. right now are having moratoriums on the death penalty because they realize that there's a problem in the system that needs to be fixed. For instance, everyone on death row should have mandatory DNA testing, which they don't have right now.
Isn't ideally capital punishment and capital punishment being instated in a state ideally supposed to be there as a deterrent? It's like a gun on an officer's side of his gun belt. It's there as a deterrent, but it's also there for use, if need be or if warranted. So if people are out there going and committing crimes that they know they will be put to death for, part and parcel with knowing that, they deserve to go down.
Is that worth the lives of the ones who may be put on death row with who are innocent?
Okay, well,
and if you look at the case of McVeigh today, he wanted to be executed. That whole Invictus or whatever he read, he was like a soldier going into battle and dying with dignity.
He's confident he's the victor. He claims himself.
Exactly.
He is himself. He's
so
happy.
We gave him exactly what he wanted. Nobody was served by McVeigh's death except McVeigh.
Yeah.
And if he was to be locked up or sentenced to life for the rest of his life, and no one ever had to hear about him again, that would be the end of that. Now he's been made a martyr, and June 11th, it came and went this year without any violence. But who's to say next year, the year after, some wacko militia group in the States might say, oh, he's our martyr, he's our man, today's the day, and go out and do a similar thing that Mr. McVeigh did. And he knew full well at the time he committed this act that he very well may be executed for it, and he may be martyred for it, and he still went ahead and did it. So, and it's proven time and time again that it's not a deterrent in any way, shape, or form.
What do you feel about what do you feel about executions? Maybe not capital punishment, but punishment. I don't know what the word is for it, but punishment, suiting the crime type of thing.
Eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye. Or there's a good quote from Gandhi: an eye for an eye only makes the whole world blind. And a lot of people, and we hear this from a lot of religious people too, and we're not a religious organization. We're open to members of all different faiths, all different backgrounds and beliefs. But a lot of religious people quote this eye for an eye, and that's from the Old Testament, somewhere in Deuteronomy, sandwiched between taking your children out of the city and stoning them to death, or taking your disobedient wife out of the city and stoning her to death. And then, you have the New Testament where Jesus turns around and says, well, you've heard an eye for an eye, I say turn the other cheek. So you have, there's many different ways of interpreting that in a religious way too, but unfortunately we have a lot of more people on the evangelical side of things who use this and use it to promote capital punishment and the death penalty based on an unfounded religious belief or religious interpretation.
You have the website ccadp.org, and we've gone on the website and downloaded almost the entire thing. And the first page, I believe, it talks about the Texecutioner, talks about George W. Bush, and it outlines, and actually I read through the entire thing today only because once I past the first page and you actually get past it, you can't believe some of the stories that you're reading. And this entire booklet is full, and this entire internet site is stories of innocent guys on death row. And it kind of makes you sick, but innocent guys on death row who were later proved innocent, but they're already dead. And it kind of really makes you sick. And I went to Arissa today, and I said to Arissa, I said, is there any way that we can, I don't know, like, call the president or do something to get involved? Because I mean, it seems kind of sick, and it is kind of sick, and it's something that definitely needs to be handled. But what can we do? As just me, how can I help this cause and really help
here in Canada? I mean, fortunately, we don't have it, and the Supreme Court recently ruled that we're not going to extradite people to face capital punishment in other jurisdictions without first getting assurances they won't be killed. In the States, however, it's all votes. It comes down to votes, and the problem is prosecutors, judges, everybody from the local sheriff up to the governor is an elected position, and what flies come election time is tough on crime. I'm tough on crime. You vote for me, I'm going to execute more people than the next guy. And people buy it and they vote for it. So what needs to happen is there needs to be a movement throughout the states to say, look, if you're going to be executing people, you're not getting my vote. I'm voting for the person who's going to correct the flaws in the system so we don't have murderers out on the street, repeat violent offenders, people getting us angry at the justice system, so we want to kill them all and let God sort them out, so to speak. But correct the problems with the justice system, give these people mandatory life sentences without the chance of parole so our society is protected. And if you're for that, then I'll vote for you. And as long as people can start putting that out to the prosecutors, judges, and politicians throughout the U.S., understand that, you know, if they're not going to be supportive of capital punishment, they'll get reelected and they'll buy them votes, then it's going to turn.
And sorry, Trey. were you
No,
gonna say
I was going to make a final, you know, comment. We, you know, personally, the way I look at it, like if I was living in the States and the level of poverty out there, we barely have enough money to feed our children, and I don't believe that spending $70,000 a year to keep a convicted killer in jail is money well spent. For executions, sorry, bro. But, that's just
Well, the
where
thing
I
is,
stand.
mostly private prisons in the States, too, and it's a very profitable industry.
I want to get
So-
people to check out ccadp.org. Please go check that out, talking about the executioner, George W. Bush, and all the people who were wrongfully murdered, who were innocent. But right now we're going to a Sandy's fake ID piece. Or are we going to a commercial? I think we're going to a piece.
No,
we're
we're
going to a
going to
piece.
fake ID.
Check
Fake
this out.
ID. His daughter can't drink, but she can be executed in Texas.